The moment you start explaining, you lose power. You're sitting in a meeting and someone says, "So, you dropped the ball again?" And the room goes quiet. You feel your chest heat up and your brain starts grabbing receipts, emails, context, anything to prove you're not the person they're painting. You can feel your voice speeding up before you even speak. That reflex doesn't make you look innocent. It makes you look controllable. And once people learn they can move you with an accusation, they'll use it again. I'm going to give you 3 responses that keep you calm, keep you respected, and quietly force the other person to do the explaining. And in a minute, you'll hear the one line that sounds almost rude, but it shuts down manipulation fast. Let's start with what's happening in your body, because it's not weakness, it's wiring. When someone questions your character or competence, your nervous system hears it like a threat. Heart rate up, shoulders tight, and that hot urgency to fix the story right now. Not later, not after you think now. The reason it feels so urgent is simple. You learned it early. When you were a kid, if an adult decided you did something wrong, your fastest path back to safety was explanation. "I didn't mean it. It wasn't me. Here's what really happened." So your brain built a rule. When an authority is unhappy, talk your way out. The issue is adult life is full of people who act like authority, even when they're not. A manager having a bad day, a partner who's anxious, a family member who loves control, a stranger online looking for a reaction. Every time you defend yourself, you're saying something you don't intend to say. You're saying, "You get to grade me." That's why defending feels so draining. It's not the words, it's the posture. You're handing them the seat of the judge. This is where Machiavelli is useful, even if you don't love the vibe. He looked at power the way a mechanic looks at an engine, not how it should work, but how it does. One brutal lesson is being right doesn't automatically win. Holding the frame wins. Frame is the invisible structure of a conversation, who defines what's true, what matters, and what the topic even is. If someone says, "You're selfish," and you respond with a paragraph, you just agreed the trial is legitimate. You walked into their courtroom and started pleading inside it. What if you didn't walk in? What if, instead of defending yourself, you made the other person carry their own accusation? This isn't about being cold. It isn't about humiliating people. It's about refusing to be yanked around by every comment that pokes your ego. A lot of adults live like emotional customer service reps, constantly managing other people's reactions. Someone frowns, they apologize. Someone hints, they over-explain. Someone accuses, they scramble to clear it up. That's a leak. If you want respect, you have to plug it. So here are the 3 moves, and the first one is the simplest and the hardest. Move 1 is the pause. Not a dramatic pause, not a punishment pause, a calm pause. Someone says, "You're being really selfish right now." Old you would rush in. "I'm not selfish. I did 3 things for you yesterday. I'm tired." You're twisting it. New you does something small. You look at them, neutral face, and you let 3 seconds happen. 1, 2, 3. That's it. In conflict, silence creates a vacuum, and most people hate that vacuum, so they rush to fill it. The person who fills it first usually loses status because they show they can't hold tension. Your silence says, "I heard you. I'm not panicking." In those 3 seconds, the other person often starts doing the work for you. They soften, they qualify, they walk it back. "I mean, not always, just today." Or, "You know what I mean." Or, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Now they're explaining their accusation. That's a power flip without you saying a single defensive word. Gray rock works because you don't feed drama with emotional reactions. You become boring to provoke. Here's the upgrade. You're still because you're sovereign, not because you're scared. A calm face is a mirror, and if someone is being unreasonable, your calm makes it obvious. Calm is unreadable, and unreadable is harder to manipulate. If you defend, you reveal where it hurts. If you rush to say, I'm not stupid, you just told them intelligence is your sore spot. If you rush to say, I'm not a bad person, you just told them morality is your sore spot. Defending teaches people which buttons to push. Silence teaches them there is no button. Sometimes you can't just stand there. You're in a meeting or on a call, and you need words. That's move 2. Move 2 is agree and amplify. You take their accusation and exaggerate it until it becomes too ridiculous to hold. Someone says, you're obsessed with money, you're greedy. The defensive response is predictable. No, I'm not. I just want to provide for my family. It might be true, and it still hands them the frame because you're fighting inside their label. Agree and amplify sounds like, yeah, it's true. I have a secret vault. Every Tuesday I swim in it like a cartoon villain, terrible for my back. Say it flat or with a tiny smile, not performative, not angry. You refuse to treat the insult like a serious verdict. You showed you're not insecure about the topic, and you quietly announced, I decide what this means. You took their knife and used it to open a package. The goal isn't to be a comedian. The goal is amused mastery, the vibe of someone who's not in danger. Like a parent watching a toddler melt down in the cereal aisle. The parent doesn't argue, the parent stays calm. When you defend yourself, you get on the floor and start screaming in the cereal aisle. So the rule is simple. If the jab is petty and you know it's not true, don't argue facts, change the vibe. You're arrogant. Totally, it's my worst quality after my incredible humility. You never care about anyone but yourself. You're right. I'm making a spreadsheet, and you're currently ranked number 47. Those lines don't beg. They don't plead. They don't accept the role of defendant. They also buy you time, letting your nervous system settle so you can decide what you want to do next. Here's the guardrail. Don't use this when stakes are real. If you genuinely messed up something important or harmed someone, you don't joke. That's when you use move 3. Move 3 is own the fact. Refuse the label. Most people think they only have 2 options, deny or surrender. There's a third option, precision. Someone says, you messed up the report. You're incompetent. The trap is defending identity. I'm not incompetent. The data was wrong. The timeline was impossible. You didn't tell me the change. Instead, separate the measurable from the insult. You're right. The report has errors. I'll correct it and send an updated version by 3. Notice what you didn't touch. You didn't wrestle with the word incompetent. You addressed the fact. You took responsibility for the action, not the character assassination. That signals confidence. Secure people admit mistakes quickly because their identity doesn't depend on being flawless. Insecure people fight for an hour because they need the other person to certify them as good. A lot of accusations aren't really about the issue. They're tests. People throw little jabs to see if you jump. If you jump, they learn they can move you. If you don't, they learn they have to deal with you like an equal. Now there's one more move that feels like a magic trick. And it's not magic. It's architecture. Every conflict has an invisible setup. Someone tries to become the judge and make you the defendant. The judge asks questions that contain accusations. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Who do you think you are? If you answer like a nervous kid, you're accepting the hierarchy. So instead of answering inside their frame, you change the frame. The cleanest way to change the frame is to ask a question back. Not snarky, diagnostic. Them. Why are you always late? You. What does my arrival time represent for you? Or what happens for you when I'm not on your schedule? Now the conversation isn't about the clock. It's about their reaction. Them. You're being ridiculous. You. What makes you reach for labels when you're frustrated? Them. You're so sensitive. You. What outcome are you trying to get by saying that? These questions acknowledge the sound without accepting the verdict. They force the other person to reveal intention. A manipulative person hates that because they want you emotional, not curious. Curiosity is a shield. If you don't want to play at all, keep a few short lines ready. That's an interesting interpretation. I hear you. Noted. Short. Calm. Closed. You're not debating your existence. Other people's opinions of you are data, not destiny. If someone's angry, that's information, not a summons. If someone's disappointed, that's theirs to manage, not your backpack. Now for part 2, the distinction that keeps this from turning you into a robot. There is a difference between clarity and defense. Clarity is about the situation. Defense is about your ego. Clarity sounds like, here's what happened. Here's what I'm doing next. Defense sounds like, please don't think badly of me. Most people mix those up when they feel cornered. So they dump context, list intentions, and wonder why the other person looks even more condensed. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you talk like you need a verdict, you get treated like a suspect. Let's make this practical with common scenarios and the exact response to use. At work, your manager says, "Why did you miss that deadline?" If you're wrong, you don't hide, you don't perform innocence. You own the fact and move to action. I missed it. I'm sending the finished version by 2, and I'm changing the process so it doesn't happen again. Then stop. If they push, you repeat the action, not the story. Yes, I missed it. Here's the fix. In a relationship, your partner says, "You never listen." That's a label, and labels invite you to argue identity. Don't argue identity. Pause, then ask for specifics. What did I miss? Which part felt unheard? Now you're talking about a moment, not a personality. If they stay vague and keep swinging with labels, use a boundary line. I'm open to specifics. I'm not doing name calling. If they escalate, end it cleanly. I'm going to step away. We can talk when it's specific. With family, someone says at dinner, "Wow, you're really sensitive." That's designed to make you defend your feelings. You can use agree and amplify lightly. "Yeah, I cry during insurance commercials. It's a problem." Or stay serious and closed. "Maybe." Then keep eating. You don't owe a speech. Online, someone comments, "You're a fraud." Online is a courtroom with an endless jury. If it's a stranger, your best move is no move. Silence is selection. If you respond, keep it boring and factual. "That's not accurate. I disagree." And stop. Now the line I promised, the one that sounds almost rude. If you have a specific concern, say it. If you're labeling me, I'm not engaging. That sentence forces a fork. Specifics you can solve. Labels are frame control. You're not refusing accountability. You're refusing the format. If they keep pushing, use the calm loop. Repeat the same boundary in the same tone. I'm open to specifics. I'm not engaging with labels. If they keep going, you exit. No threats, no lecture, just go. I'm going to step away now. I'm not continuing this conversation. We can talk later. Now the fear under all of this. What if I lose people by doing this? Maybe. If the relationship is built on you being easy to push around, holding a boundary will feel like betrayal to them. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the system was never balanced. The goal is not dominance, it's self-possession. That's why your nonverbal matters more than your words. If your face looks smug, you'll trigger fights. If your voice sounds shaky, you'll invite pressure. So here's the simplest internal tool. When the accusation hits, exhale slowly, longer than your inhale. Then soften your jaw and drop your shoulders. You're sending your nervous system a message. We're not running. Now for public accusations. A coworker says it in front of the team, or a friend drops it in a group chat. Public pressure makes you over-explain because you want to win the room back. In public, your goal is stability, not persuasion. So you go shorter and move it offline. If it's false and serious, that's not accurate. If you want to talk about it, we can do it after. Then stop. If it's partly true, you're right that I missed it. I'll fix it. We can talk details later. Accountability plus no stage. If you struggle to hold the pause, practice it when nothing is on fire. Once a day, before answering anything, take a single slow breath and let 1 second pass. You're training your body to learn. I don't have to sprint. Now the 7-day no defense game. For 7 days, you are not allowed to explain yourself to protect your image. You can communicate, you can be kind, you can be accountable, but you cannot perform. When you're late, say, "I'm late," period. No traffic story, no weather story, no 5-paragraph apology. If they ask for logistics, give logistics. "I'll be there at 6:15. That's clarity, not defense. When you make a mistake, name the mistake and the fix. "I sent the wrong file. I'm sending the right one now." No self-beating, no character speech. When someone misunderstands you, let them misunderstand you at least once. Let the discomfort rise. Don't sprint to put it out. Sit in it. Watch what happens. At first, people test you. They poke and wait for the familiar flood of explanation. When it doesn't come, you'll see confusion. Then you'll see respect or escalation. If you get respect, the relationship just got cleaner. If you get escalation, that's information. They were attached to controlling you through accusation. Now you choose, keep giving access or tighten the boundary. Track it with a note. Write leak when you almost explain. Write plug when you hold frame and stop. At the end of the week, you'll feel less mental chatter and less rehearsal in the car before you walk inside. Final warning, silence can be power or silence can be punishment. Punishment silence is tight and performative. It escalates conflict. Calm silence is boring and steady. You're not taking the bait. That's the version that flips the power without turning you into a problem. You don't become untouchable by the perfect comeback. You become untouchable by refusing to audition for other people's approval. Try the 7 days. Don't be perfect. Be consistent. And if you want more tools like this, hit subscribe. Not because I asked, but because you're done leaking your power every time someone raises an eyebrow.